Hello, and welcome to your Urban Connection. Remember, this is the channel that is often imitated but is never duplicated. And remember, this is Kansas' #1 podcast program. One of the things we do here is we talk about things that others don't talk about. Now, today, this is going to be a very interesting program, all right? And it's about basketball. I want to tell you, first of all, that the NBA season just got kicked off last week and it completed its first week. And at the end of that first week, or even before the week was even over, all of the talk in basketball was centered around a guy that is not even in the NBA, at least not anymore. You see, this guy is getting more publicity than you can shake a stick at. And as far as he's concerned, none of it is wanted. See, he didn't ask, well, he did, but he doesn't want this kind of publicity. Matter of fact, he's lashed out about some of this publicity. But he has nobody to blame for it but himself. Now, the guy that I'm talking about is a former NBA player by the name of Dwight Howard. And I want to tell you, before I really get into the story, I want to give you a little background on Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard was brought up and raised as a Christian. Dwight Howard spent his high school days playing basketball at Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy. Now, you heard me right. Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy, where his daddy was the athletic director. And Dwight Howard did not go to college. He was drafted, or came out of high school and signed up for the NBA draft. Now, this guy coming out of high school was all the rage in the NBA world. He was the #1 draft choice pick in the 2004 NBA draft. Dwight Howard was heralded as the next Shaq type of ball player. Look, he was tall, he was 6'11". He was muscular. He was magnifying. He was athletic. He had the prowess rarely seen in the basketball world. And he had the morals and the ethics of a Christian individual. Even so, that he was seen on and interviewed on CBN, which was a Christian broadcasting network run by Pat Robertson at that time. And on that show, he was asked, and this was after he'd been drafted and played a couple of years, he was asked how he wanted to use his NBA platform. And his answer was one that you might expect of someone that professed to be a staunch Christian. He simply stated that he wanted to use his NBA platform to tell people to give their life over to Christ. That's what he wanted to do. Now that sounds well and dandy. There's nothing wrong with that answer. And people were looking forward to that. Now, this guy, I want to tell you, was very successful in the early stages. He was drafted by the Orlando Magic, by the way, in the 2004 draft. And he played for several seasons for the Orlando Magic. And they were proud to have him in Orlando. The franchise was proud to have him. And he was proud to be there. And he started off in the manner in which he was hyped up to do. This guy, for the first 3 seasons, this guy never missed a single game. This guy played in every single game for 3 full seasons. 82 games a season. He was lightning under the goal, under the basket. He was a top rebounder. As a matter of fact, in his rookie year, he became the first rookie ever to lead the league in double-doubles. Okay? 10 points a game average or better, 10 rebounds or better per game. It's the first rookie to do that. And he went on to take Miami from a has-been to an up-and-coming team. And he was the talk of the league. Everybody was talking about Dwight Howard and his potential. And everybody wanted to play with Dwight Howard. And everybody looked forward to playing against Dwight Howard. Now, Dwight Howard signed his first contract, and I believe his first contract gave him somewhere around $15 to $17 million. And he performed, and he earned his money. And with the money, and with the accolades he was receiving, he maintained that Christian attitude. But then somewhere along the line, something went wrong. This Christian who professed to be an advocate for Christianity, an advocate for high morals, good ethics, all of a sudden, in just a matter of a few short years, began to raise eyebrows when at first he had a child by a woman that he was not married to. You see, he had began dating one of the young cheerleaders for the Orlando Magic, and he had a baby by her. Well, basically that's not that uncommon anymore. But for a guy who professed to be a staunch, all-out Christian, it was a little bit surprising. But you know what? That was just the beginning. That was not the end. You see, you would think that a guy who's professing what he professed to be and who he professed to be would have had settling down, getting married, and raising a family. But that wasn't in Dwight Howard's picture. That wasn't in his future. Well, you see, over the next few years, Dwight Howard had 4 more babies with 4 more baby mamas. In other words, now, all of a sudden, Dwight Howard wakes up one morning and he's got 5 babies or 5 children, whatever you want to call it, with 5 different women. And everybody wonders, wait a minute, how can this be? How can Dwight Howard, who was raised in a Christian home, who was educated in a Christian school, who came into the league professing his Christianity and his loyalty to his Christianity, how can he do this? How can he get so far off base? Well, here's one of the things I say, ladies and gentlemen. When you become famous and you become rich, a lot of things come your way. And they come your way easily. And they come your way fast. And if you're not strong, you will give in and yield to the temptation. So now I want to tell you what I think entered into the picture here. First, it was the money, and then it was the women. And I think what happens if you know anything about professional basketball league and the players, you know that there are women out there in all parts of the country. And these women come in all sizes, all shapes, all colors, and they will basically throw themselves at any man that they know has a profession that pays him very, very well. And that will allow that man to afford them with a lifestyle that 98% of the men in America cannot provide. Now, what happens is, like I said, if you're not strong, regardless of what your background is, you will give in to the temptation. And if you've ever been to a professional basketball game, an NBA basketball game, I want to tell you something. After the game, and I'm talking about 30 minutes after the game is over, 45 minutes, maybe an hour after the game is over, there are probably hundreds of women, again, of all colors, all shapes, all sizes, whatever, all face, whatever, that are hanging out by the locker rooms waiting for an NBA player to come out. And he doesn't have to be the number 1 player on that team. He doesn't have to be number 2 on that team. Any player on that team, they are willing to hook up with, if he's willing. Now, a lot of these guys are married, but that makes no difference to these women because they're not looking at getting married. They're looking at getting in his pocket. Okay? That's what they want. They see him as a meal ticket. So basically what happens is, and we've seen it often, it happens often, I think Dwight Howard got so accustomed to having any woman that he wanted, and it was so easy for him that with his money and his availability and the availability of so many women, after a while, after 5 babies, okay, I think he got somewhat, I think his attitude was, hey, look, I can get a woman anytime I want her. I can get almost any woman that I want. And basically, after a while, this kind of gets old too. So Dwight Howard began to look for something else that was more exciting to him than sleeping with women. So Mr. Howard, at some point in time, and I don't know when, I don't know how, and I don't know why, began to have attractions to other men. Now, there's been speculation for quite a few years now about Mr. Howard's sexuality. There's been thoughts, there's been speculations, but Mr. Howard has always professed that he was not gay. And I don't know that he ever even professed being bisexual or not. But we do know that in about the year 2018, certain men started to make allegations and accusations about Mr. Howard's sexual involvements. And there again, Mr. Howard has denied these allegations and these accusations. And then in 2021, it appears that Mr. Howard and another man that he met on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, began flirting and exchanging text messages and insinuating a desire to get together for a hookup. Now, the hookup took place when this gentleman was invited to and accepted an invitation to go to Mr. Howard's home. Now, according to the allegations, this gentleman thought that he was going to have a relationship, intimate relationship with Mr. Howard. But there was a mention in one of the text messages, if I'm not mistaken, that asked him if he would consider a threesome. It's my understanding from what the gentleman is alleging in his lawsuit, he said he wasn't interested in having a threesome. And he proceeded to go to Mr. Howard's home in Atlanta. And once he got there, he and Mr. Howard started to embrace and started some consensual, I assume, kissing, which led, according to his allegations, led to Mr. Howard starting to touch him down below through his shorts. And I believe it was at this point that Mr. Howard had a third party, which happened to be a man dressed as a woman, come to his home and come in the room with him. According to the lawsuit, the gentleman says, hey, no, I'm not down with this. I didn't sign up for this. I'm uncomfortable with this. And according to him, Mr. Howard says, hey, you're going to do this and you're going to like it. Now, the gentleman claims that what took place after that was forced upon him by Mr. Howard. He's filed a lawsuit claiming sexual assault, sexual battery, I believe, enforced, whatever. I'm not sure the exact terminology. So what I'm saying is that the gentleman that had professed such a staunch loyalty to his faith and to his religious beliefs went from being attracted to women and having babies with women to being attracted to men. And apparently, according to what this gentleman is saying, engaging in certain sexual acts with other men. Now, this is straying far from the statement and actions that Mr. Howard professed when he first came into the league. So you have to wonder, how does a guy go from point A, being a staunch, religious, loyal to the core, religious fanatic, you might say. And as he said on CBN, he wanted to use his NBA platform to teach others to turn their life over to Jesus. And he wants to be seen as a role model. So how do we get from point A to point B? Well, I'm going to say this, and I might be wrong. But we've seen this oftentimes with men with a lot of money. You see, these men are used to having anything they want. So when you have it all, you've got all the money you want, you've got all the women you want, you've got everything, but there's still something that you feel you're missing. You don't have that excitement in your life that you once had. And you start looking, you start grasping for something different. Because I've had women. Women are fun, but they're not that exciting to me anymore. All right? Cars. Hell, I've got a garage full of cars and got some in storage. I've got all kinds of cars. I've got exotic cars, okay? I mean, I've got mini cars. I've got all kinds of cars. I need something else. I need some excitement in my life. And then you start watching porn. And you get addicted to porn. And then you become attracted to some of what you see in porn. And if you know porn, there's porn for everybody. There's all kinds of porn out there. Men and women, women and women, men and men, all of it's available. But some of it, to these men that have money, have women, have all the cars they want, they have houses, $1 million houses. None of that's exciting anymore. They need some new excitement. And they seek that excitement in the wrong places. They channel that energy into the wrong areas. And that is what I think perhaps happened to Dwight Howard. Now, here's the interesting part, ladies and gentlemen. As an NBA player, Dwight Howard had to be as discreet, or should have been as discreet as you can get, knowing full well that once word got out in the NBA that you were being a deviant and having male-on-male sex, that wasn't going to play well. So here's the deal. This gentleman files a lawsuit in 2022. Okay? And this lawsuit becomes public just a few weeks ago. Now, the interesting part here is just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week or two before the NBA season was to begin, Dwight Howard was trying out for the Golden State Warriors. And as best I could tell, the Golden State Warriors needed the services of someone like Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard wanted to be the one to provide those services. And from what I can understand, Dwight Howard was this close to signing a contract to bring him back to the NBA and play for the Golden State Warriors. Now, I think anybody in the NBA would tell you that is an opportunity that is not presented to a lot of people. So for this lawsuit to come forward at the time that it did, the Warriors soon decided we don't want any longer the services of Dwight Howard. And you know what else? None of the other teams in the NBA wanted to avail themselves to the services of Dwight Howard again. So I am at the point where I have to ask the question, did Dwight Howard just blow, no pun intended, blow the opportunity to return to the NBA? Because you must remember, the last season, Dwight Howard did not play on any team in the NBA. He played for a team overseas. I believe it was in Japan or China, I'm not sure. But he played overseas, and he wanted to come back and play in the NBA. He wanted to win a spot on an NBA team, and he was this close. And now it's doubtful if he'll ever play another game of basketball in the National Basketball Association. No matter what happens with this lawsuit, he's seeking to have it dismissed, and he's now acknowledging that there was intimate interaction between he, the guy that filed the lawsuit, and the third party, which he initially denied ever took place. So now, can you imagine that anybody on any of those 30 teams are willing to go into a locker room with Dwight Howard? Willing to go in and shower with Dwight Howard in the room? No. They don't play that game. Can you imagine any team in the NBA that wants to have that distraction for their team? No. You know, the last guy that basically came out as gay, he waited until he played his last season, and then he came out. He had nothing to lose. Dwight Howard was just the opposite. He had an awful lot to lose, and he's lost it. And I want to tell you this. He won't really feel that loss either way, whether he wins or loses the lawsuit. But the loss will hit him when he's no longer playing professional basketball. And that income that he's accustomed to, because look, this guy has made over $200 million in his 16 years of playing professional basketball. He's developed a lifestyle that I don't think he can maintain without that revenue and that income from playing professional basketball. Okay? So I hope that this will be a lesson to the younger guys that are in the league. Because you see, this last couple of years, we've seen some things that are way, way, way out of character, way out of line, and not in the best interest of some of those NBA players. Now, this show is about Dwight Howard, but it could just as well be about Zion Williamson, a young basketball player who's been in the NBA for just a couple of years, maybe 3. And yet he was outed, not as being gay, not as having sex with a man, but engaging in sexual activities with a porn star. And if that's not enough, even though she was not his girlfriend, she was just a side chick, he was paying this woman, allegedly, according to her, over $100,000 a month. You heard me right, $100,000 per month to be his side chick. Now, ladies and gentlemen, man, I don't know what this guy's thinking. I really don't. But you see, this just goes to show that Zion signed a big contract for over $200 million just a couple of years ago. Zion's only about 22 years old, okay? But when you put this much money into the hands of someone who's never had $25,000 at one time, they go crazy. They go wild. They spend money like it's water. And that's why you find out that after their playing days, so many of the NBA players go broke because of the fact that they don't know how to control themselves. They don't know how to look forward to life after their playing days are over. They think it's easy come, easy go. But you know what the average playing career, playing time is for a professional athlete? It's about 5 to 6 years. And that goes in football, that goes in basketball. Baseball might be a little longer than that. But these guys think this income is going to be there forever. And it's not. So this situation with Dwight Howard, as unfortunate as it is, I only hope that it will be a learning experience for the younger guys. I hope they will learn from this. I hope that they would, rather than look to Dwight Howard, look to a guy who went in the league in 1985 after graduating from college. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now, you listen to me carefully and closely, because you're not going to believe this. This guy went into the NBA right out of college. He went in, he was kind of like Dwight Howard. He was from a very religious background. He didn't believe in marriage or sex before marriage. This guy went in 1985 as a virgin, played for 16 years, and came out of the NBA in 2002, still a virgin. Okay? And I'm not going to tell you his name right now, but I'm going to try to have him as a guest on my show to talk about what it's like to be an NBA player with women throwing themselves at you at every state you go in, every arena you go in, women of all sizes, shapes, colors, religions, whatever. And you have the strong enough beliefs in your religious teachings that you turn your back on all of those women. You turn your back on all of the parties that involve sex, alcohol, and drugs. This guy didn't partake in any of that for 16 years in the NBA. And I'm hoping that I can introduce you to him on this show within the next few weeks. In the meantime, stay tuned. We might have more on Dwight Howard. I'm not sure. But anyhow, that's my show for today. Thanks for watching.